guidelines for deciding on a format and presentation for materials development or designing a language course. All right. We'll see what guidelines we can have, which we can use to decide about the contents or the activities of a course, right? So just bear in mind these guidelines are sort of checklist for us to see whether the activities included in a specific course book or a textbook are useful for learners or not, right? So we'll go through these guidelines one by one, and this is one of the essential steps of format and presentation. If we want to make overall language curriculum more efficient and adequate, we need to look into the importance of these guidelines, how we can make the best use of these guidelines in order to decide what content we need to teach a particular skill of language, right? As you might have noticed, every lesson or every topic or in a textbook, for example, that might contain some information about how to do particular lesson, right? So I mean that might contain some information how the lesson gonna take place in the classroom and what order the teacher could adopt, right? So in this regard, if for example, it's important, I mean the reason the justification why we need to give clear instructions about about the format and presentation of a lesson is that it's important, and it will make the learning more useful and effective. If on the other hand, for example, if we don't, as language teachers, if we don't state clearly the goals and objectives of the course and the kind of learning that's going to take place, we might we might not be able to achieve the purposes of a particular lesson. And there is plenty of empirical evidence on this issue, right? For example, if the teacher wants to achieve particular aims of the course, right? On the other hand, the students they have different learning styles, so they might defeat the teacher's aims or objectives of presenting material in the classroom. So we need to be aware of this element while designing a language course or formatting a lesson plan, right? Well, what's the place then where we can give these instructions? Well, I personally believe, this is my own pedagogical practice. Like when I walk into the classroom, I just simply state the instructions, how we're gonna proceed with the lesson, right? This is my own personal practice, but I don't know how you carry on your practice. But for language curriculum design, these instructions could be given, for example, in the beginning of a lesson or in the beginning of an activity, right? And we've got some useful places, like I think the most useful place is just at the beginning of a particular lesson or an activity, where we can explicitly tell our learners what we're going to do and how we're going to do, right? If, for example, we are teaching the first conditional, so it's important to clearly state the justification why doing first conditional is important, and what examples we can be using to teach first conditional, and whether it's going to be meaningful practice or just presentation production practice, right? As you might have noticed, some of the course books, they contain some clear guidelines, and the guidelines are about how we gonna do a particular activity in the classroom, right? The guidelines, the checklist should be based on environment analysis, and the environment analysis takes into account, as you might remember, we've been discussing this from time to time in our earlier segments. The environment analysis takes into account the learner factors, whether the particular lesson or the material fit for the class size, fit for their age, and fit for their learning styles or individual styles, whether the particular course can be managed by teachers, and whether it fits for the overall situation of the school, right? And while conducting environment analysis, we also come to know about the needs of the students, their lacks, necessities, their wants, and so in brief, these guidelines for deciding about the format and presentation of a particular content or a particular activity, they serve as a sort of checklist. So we need to be aware of these guidelines, and we need to be aware of their significance